HCWC talks about the issues no one wants to talk about, and they talk to the people that no one wants to listen to. And we have been doing this for 40 years.
They had picked up a woman who was walking from Kyle to San Marcos, and she had a baby in one arm and her other arm was broken. And she had been attacked by her husband. And so they picked her up and brought her to us. So we took her out to the hospital and got her treated for her broken arm. And then we rented a motel room for a night or two and then got her reconnected with her family, but we didn't have any place to take her at that point. And this is what really motivated us to do something, to create the shelter. We wrote up a proposal for us to rent one of these homes from the city for $1 a year, and we went to the city council, and I stood up and presented this idea. However, people were not happy about the idea of creating a shelter in their neighborhood, and they showed up at City Hall to protest our request. They, at one point, said, "This is an organization that's just encouraging women to run away from their husbands, and that it would become a house of prostitution." And I was just horrified. I mean, it was just such an awful thought.
I got interested in the Women's Center about 35 years ago with my husband, Dennis McCoy. So we went to the shelter and they gave us a tour. The women and children were there. There were holes in the floor, rat pellets everywhere. And we get back in the car, we said goodbye to everybody. Dennis said, "Well, what impressed you the most?" And I said, "The fact that the women and children seemed so happy to be there." And so I said, "You know, we've got to do something." He says, "I'll go to the family and I'll ask, you know, what we can donate." He comes back after meeting with the family and he said, "We're going to build a whole new shelter."
In the 80s and 90s, we were still learning how to work with clients. Law enforcement wasn't always cooperative. We used to have staff who went to people's homes and helped pick up the clients and their belongings and children, which was really pretty dangerous. We were also being asked to go to police stations to interview children, which just wasn't a very child-friendly place. We really began to look at whether or not we could create a children's advocacy center here. That was a partnership with law enforcement, child protective services, and court-appointed special advocates and prosecutors. So it required a lot of working together. Roxanne McKimmey had been a long-time supporter of the center and volunteered for us, and she died in 1997. So the group agreed that we would name it Roxanne's House. We've continued to evolve to meet clients' needs. We hope to work with clients before they need shelter or really make sure that they're successful when they leave the shelter. The McCoy family has been instrumental in helping us make all of these expansions, as have so many people in the community who have pitched in to help. Through those efforts, we've come a long way in bringing this out of the shadows, really making victims of abuse not have to be so fearful for their lives. We have helped create laws, create changes in our community and statewide and even nationwide that has helped victims have many more options than they did in the past. I think back to the woman who walked to San Marcos from Kyle. She was carrying her baby and her arm was broken. I know that there were not many services for her, and then HCWC did what we could to help her. Zoom forward 40 years, and we have had all of these survivors that we've worked with who've helped us develop empowering services, and survivors are now raising their voice.
I'm 23 years old, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. So I was 18 when the abuse first started with my ex. I ended up moving in with him, and everything was great. And then about 7-8 months into the relationship, if a little argument would come up, he'd start cussing at me or calling me names. And it escalated from there. After the cussing, then it would be, he'd get in my face and he'd poke in my chest. And then it was shoving. And then eventually it was slapping, strangling. And then the last incident, choking and a broken face. Towards the end, the abuse was escalating, and I knew that I was probably gonna not make it. So I wrote in journals every single day. I wrote what was happening. I would wake up the next day and take pictures of my bruises and scars around my neck. And I had kept it, and I figured if something would happen to me, my family would find out everything, and a lot of parts are just blocked out. I can't really remember how I even ended up here. I just know that the first person I met was Chantal, and she was a court advocate, and she was there by my side through the entire thing, helping me figure out applying for a protection order, going to court dates with me, and then finally being there with me when I finally read my victim impact statement. That I had the power to escape an abusive relationship. I have the power to talk about it, to bring awareness to it, and I have the power to not let it happen to me again, and even do work to help not have it happen to others. It's a difficult thing to talk about and to even like gain support for. I would say that the people in the room are heroes to be able to support something this big, something that needs to change. Abuse is not easy, definitely not easy to go through, harder to talk about and relive it and continue to live it for the rest of your life. But to have people support you and to remind you that you're not alone, that there's people advocating for you and a community that's standing right behind you, it makes it so much easier. So I would tell them thank you.
I think that to see something expand beyond your wildest dreams is really a fantastic thing. I think this will be the thing I'll always be the proudest of.